Our story begins inside of the secret Sith lair deep in the industrial sector of Coruscant. The smog in the air around here made it much harder to breathe, but it was not the air that was taking Jedi Master Yaddle's breath away. Over the last few hours, Yaddle has gone through very much. In council, via hologram from Naboo, the young Jedi Obi-Wan Kenobi reported that the Battle of Naboo was won, thanks to the flying skills of the Tatooine boy Skywalker, the help of the Gungans, and the bravery of the Queen to infiltrate the castle. And with a much more somber tone, Kenobi reported that he and Qui-Gon distracted their greatest enemy, the warrior with the red blades, and in the fight, Qui-Gon Jinn fell before Obi-Wan eventually defeated this warrior. Yaddle could see the tears burning away in the back of Obi-Wan's eyes, desperately wanting to break free, but Obi-Wan held them back because he is a Jedi, and he must let go. The council heard all of this, and Yoda would dip his head before saying that the entire council will be coming to Naboo for the funeral of Master Qui-Gon. And although Kenobi didn't say it, Yaddle could see his mouth twitch, as if he wanted to ask the council what took so long to come to Naboo. Why didn't they come when Qui-Gon still could have been saved? But Obi-Wan didn't question the council because he was a good Jedi. Yaddle was certain that he would become a knight, and quickly in time a master. But as the council prepared to take off, Yaddle followed her instincts through the grand hallways of one of the side doors, and it was next to the great tree where Yaddle would find Dooku, standing alone, staring up at the falling leaves. Dooku was not hiding his emotions. He clearly already knew what has taken place. Yaddle could feel his sadness, his grief, and below everything, his anger. She invited Dooku to come to the funeral, but Dooku expressed that he would not be welcome company. What he thinks and what he has to say, he cannot imagine that the council would like to hear it. Yaddle knew this to be true. For a long time, Dooku has been a critic of the Jedi Council. He has expressed openly that their loyalty to the Senate has blinded them to what is going on outside of their ivory tower. As senators become richer and fatter, they become happier, but it is at the expense of their own people, the people that the Jedi have begun to abandon. Where the Jedi were once looked at across the galaxy as mystical beings that keep peace and protect people, they were now seen as a police force protecting the privileged. Yaddle knew it to be true, but she trusted Yoda. She trusted Windu, Mundi, Plo, Depa, the others. Surely they all saw the same thing. Surely it will turn around soon. But for the first time, Yaddle was truly questioning things. And so, when the council took off for Naboo, Yaddle was not with them. She stayed back, and she instead secretly followed Dooku to the industrial sector. And now, as she is back in the present moment, she could overhear Dooku talking with a mysterious, hooded man. The wide room was carrying an echo. Yaddle could hear every word that was being spoken. Dooku and the Sith Lord both said they've lost an apprentice today, and the Sith began to question Dooku's loyalty. Dooku frustratedly reminded Sidious of Kamino, Sifo-Dyas the clones. He's taken many lives in pursuit of their goal. Yaddle closed her eyes. She could feel her lightsaber. She felt sad. Dooku has become a Jedi that was lost. She must be the one to help him find his way back. But before she could turn and confront him, something spoke to her. Either her own voice, or one from the Force, she wasn't quite sure. But the voice just said no. Dooku has become lost, but the way back is not through the Jedi Council. And Yaddle would keep herself hidden, realizing that confronting Dooku could be the way for Dooku to prove himself to the Sith. Dying in here, dying as the only one with the truth, it would be useless. So, Yaddle held back, using all of her power to mask her presence, continuing to listen. And Sidious would move around Dooku slowly, voice calm, almost amused, saying that Dooku's anger still points backwards rather than forward. Until Dooku releases his need to be recognized for what he has done, Sidious will always question whether he serves the vision or merely serves himself. Dooku's reply was quiet and controlled, but it was edged with something darker, as he was telling Sidious that he thought that the Sith looked inward for their power. Sidious snapped back, saying that he serves a goal that is 1,000 years in the making. Born from Bane all the way down to Tenebris and Plagueis, the Sith have been planting the seeds for someone truly worthy of their power to take over and rebuild an empire ruled by the Sith. He looks inward because he is the one that is worthy of their goal, and he told Dooku that he sees the potential in him, but trust is earned at the end of the journey, not at the beginning. He knows that so much has already been asked of Dooku, but so much more will be required. More suffering, more blood, more death. And in the end, Qui-Gon will not be the only Jedi friend of his to fall. They all must die. Only then, when the Jedi are gone, and the Republic is begging for order, then Dooku will have earned his trust. Until then, Sidious says, doubt will remain. That is how the Sith will survive. From the shadows, Yaddle remained still as she heard the Sith Lord disappear through the back of the hangar, leaving Dooku alone. And as Dooku stood in the hangar area, he understood that this, like everything else Sidious does, is simply another test. Sidious wants to know how Dooku will respond to this. Dooku closed his eyes, he let go of his frustrations, and he further committed himself to the Sith goal. He got into his ship, taking off out of the hangar, and he would never see Yaddle, covering herself with her robes, wondering what she will do from here. A few days later, Master Yaddle flew a Jedi ship through the clouds of Sereno and down towards Dooku's castle. Yaddle was conflicted. She knew what she was doing may be the wrong choice, but she was trusting her gut, trusting what she thought the Force was telling her. After hearing the meeting between Dooku and the Sith, Yaddle had rushed back to the temple. She had intended to tell the Jedi Council everything. She was going to expose Dooku for working with the Sith and taking him down. But upon entering the council, she found them once more debating whether Anakin Skywalker should be let into the Order or return to his home. Yoda had already given permission to Obi-Wan, but others like Windu and Mundi said that more discussion was required. In the end, he would be allowed to be trained, but this conversation just continued to show Yaddle that the Jedi are worried about all the wrong things. In her mind, of course Anakin needed to be trained. Any other discussion was pointless. They have bigger things to talk about. The Sith re-emerged on Naboo. And so, in that moment, Yaddle had seen that the Council was not what she thought it to be. It was an archaic system. The way to bring down the Sith was by infiltrating them, by trusting Dooku to eventually do what is right. She would take it upon herself. Dooku would welcome Yaddle into his castle, and Yaddle did not reveal that she knew the truth. She just told Dooku that she's become frustrated with the Council, and she's looking for guidance on what to do. Dooku found this to be intriguing. He found Yaddle to be quite fascinating. He wasn't like the other Jedi on the Council, but still, he knew he had to be cautious. Could Yaddle be working with the Council to spy on him? Could she suspect something sinister about his actual activities? He would listen more than he spoke, studying her words the way he once studied the Council. He was looking for evasions, for rehearsed doctrine, and for moments in the Force where she seemed to be lying. But when she spoke of disillusionment of the Council paralyzed by fear of change, and loyalty to a broken republic, something inside of Dooku would soften. It was a bit of relief, trust, recognition in a Jedi that he hadn't felt in so long. Something that only Qui-Gon often agreed with him on. And Dooku responded carefully, saying that the Jedi have mistaken stillness and quiet for wisdom and peace. Yaddle suggested that something new may be required, perhaps a sect of the Jedi Order removed from Coruscant. But Dooku said that the galaxy has outgrown the Order entirely. Reform from within has become impossible. The Council would never allow it. Yaddle said that may be so, but still, she plans to speak to the Council about it, about expanding the Order out of Coruscant. And she asked Dooku if he would be willing to be a leading member of this expansion if approved. Dooku looked past Yaddle, eyes glossing over, and Yaddle knew that Dooku could be thinking about the Sith Lord. He was thinking of the chains that were tying him down, the chains that Yaddle was hoping to break apart, bit by bit. Dooku just told Yaddle that he does not have an answer for her today, and in the weeks that followed, Yaddle would continue to speak to Dooku via hologram, pushing in the Council for a sect of Jedi to return to the Outer Rim. Dooku found himself engaging in these conversations much more openly than he had intended. He spoke of Qui-Gon, and of how the Council failed him long before Naboo. Yaddle listened, and put the thoughts in Dooku's mind that more was possible outside of darkness. Yaddle's continued proposals to push the Jedi away from Coruscant fractured the Council more than Yaddle had ever really seen. Some masters could only hear danger of an unsupervised sect operating without the Senate. They spoke of old treaties that were binding the Order to the Republic, of how even the appearance of independence could unravel the trust that they had. And with the emergence of the Sith, unity within the Order is needed more than ever. Others were more conflicted. They saw the suffering in the Outer and Mid-Rim, with systems that were abandoned by their leaders. Yaddle argued that balance within the Force is being suffocated here on Coruscant. A few of the older masters, like Apo Rensis and Yarael Poof, could see truth in her words, but They feared the cost of being wrong. They were around for the High Republic days, when the Jedi were much more spread out, and while it had benefits, the Jedi often found themselves in the center of conflicts that would cause so many lives to be lost, until they decided it was best to stay on Coruscant. The debates would not stop, and Yaddle would keep trying with debates. Months would pass, as Dooku began traveling more frequently for diplomatic business, private negotiations with disaffected systems within the Republic. Yaddle would even accompany him at times, continuing their discussions that Dooku had grown to enjoy. Dooku never mentioned Sidious. Yaddle never brought him up. Dooku had been putting together the skeleton of what would eventually be the Separatist movement, but at the same time, Yaddle was quietly reaching out to Jedi who'd grown distant from the Council, testing who could be willing to walk away and join something new. An alignment was formed between Yaddle and Dooku, and eventually, Yaddle would tell the Council that she is leaving her position, and she's going to the Outer Rim with a group of Jedi who have a similar vision to her. She told the Council that they may try and stop her, but this new group of Jedi will stand strong in their choice. Yoda was taken aback by this, even after the months of arguing that pointed to Yaddle going down this path. Deep down, a small part of him was proud, but another part of him was worried about the ramifications if it goes wrong. And so, Yaddle would take her group of 20 Masters and Knights, and they would go to Sereno. Dooku had just finished a meeting with Darth Sidious, discussing the beginnings of the CIS, when the Jedi entered. Part of Dooku expected this to be a fight, but instead, Yaddle offered for Dooku to join them, become a top leader of this new sect of Jedi, help them build out a vision for what these new Jedi can be. Yaddle looked Dooku in the eyes, telling him that she trusts him. The Jedi trust him. Now, he can show them the way. Dooku's gaze softened as he wanted to tell Yaddle that this trust would be shattered if she knew the truth. She would hate him for his decision to work with the Sith, but he knew he could not admit any of that. Not now. And yet, despite all the work he has done, and all he knew he would be expected to do, Dooku told the Jedi he will come with them and oversee them, not as any sort of leader, not to stay, just to see what it's like. Yaddle turned to the door, and she couldn't help breaking a small smile. For months, she has worked at this project to expand the Order and to break Dooku's allegiance to the dark. She could see the cracks forming, and before long, she would destroy the hold that the mysterious Sith has on Dooku. The Jedi sect would travel to Ahch-To, one of the few planets that the Jedi first established a temple on, and they got to work. And on the ocean world, Yaddle sort of became the Grand Master. The Jedi here would feel how quiet everything was compared to Coruscant, and they would study the Force as something ancient and indifferent to Republic borders. But it became clear within just days that vision alone was not enough. The Jedi here argued about structure, discipline, and how this new sect should actually act. Some Jedi, such as Master Imagundi, thought the Jedi should be more aggressive in pushing into the Outer Rim to fight pirates and crime gangs. Some, like Aayla Secura, a knight in this new sect, wanted stricter rules. Others wanted more freedom. Yaddle would listen to all of it, but the weight was beginning to show. Clearly, she was in over her head. So, that would be when Dooku stepped in, helping to establish some real routine and structure. He organized watches, established training rotations, negotiated with nearby systems for supplies without tying them to contracts. He created a small council to help Yaddle, with Imagundi and Aayla Secura leading it. And over the next weeks, the Ahch-To Jedi would begin traveling to the Mid-Rim to resolve disputes without announcing themselves. Lightsaber training was retained, but de-emphasized. Force perception took precedence over all. Dooku consistently told himself he was only there temporarily, and yet each problem he solved would pull him in deeper. He saw what the Jedi could be without Senate oversight, and it fed something hopeful inside of him. Yaddle noticed his growing involvement, and she knew that she needs him in this. At the end of everything, this entire mission was about taking down the Sith by showing Dooku that the Jedi way is not a lost cause. And so when Dooku finally returned to Sereno, he would find Darth Sidious already waiting for him in the castle. Dooku was not informed that he was here. He wasn't sure how Dooku got in, but he knew better than to question it. And as Sidious looked out past the green window, he told Dooku that he's felt a disturbance in the Force from the Jedi. They've made a rather unexpected move, a move that could shift the ultimate plans of the Sith. Sidious said that he knows Dooku has been a part of it. Dooku knew lying was useless, so he decided to alter the truth. He told his master that a sect of Jedi, disillusioned with the Council, came to him, asked for his help in establishing something new for the Jedi. Naturally, he was curious, so he followed these Jedi to Ahch-To in order to see what they were becoming. And Dooku told Sidious that these Jedi could be useful someday. Perhaps when war comes, they will side with the Separatists. It will make the Coruscant Jedi look even worse. Sidious thought about it, and he said that Dooku may be correct, but it is simply too much of a wild card. He turned to Dooku, saying that these Jedi will provide something to them after all, a test for Dooku to prove his true loyalty. The two of them will go to Ahch-To. They will slaughter these Jedi. It will show the Coruscant Jedi that expansion is far too dangerous, and their plans will remain on track. Sidious felt into the Force, feeling for conflict in Dooku, and although there was some, Dooku just nodded. He knew deep down that his plan was set in stone. He chose the Sith long ago, and this was all a part of it, all to serve their greater goals. So, on Ahch-To, Yaddle would be sitting with the 20 Jedi as they all felt the Force together. Yaddle would ask a younger Jedi, a knight named Tiplar, what she feels. Tiplar felt into the Force, feeling the waves, the peace, the plants, the life, and also a darkness. Her eyes shot open, and the other Jedi felt it too, as a ship pierced the clouds, heading straight for the island. Yaddle could feel two presences, Dooku, and a darker presence that she's felt once before, back in the industrial hangar. She knew, everything she's worked for, it would all come down to this. The shuttle landed, the ramp would lower, revealing Dooku with his blue saber ignited, with a hooded man standing behind him. All 20 Jedi quickly got to their feet, igniting their sabers with confusion and fear. Yaddle stood at the front of them. Sidious would step out in front of Dooku, telling Dooku to be ready. Sidious wanted to start this on his own, and he held up both hands, smiled, then blasted heavy lightning right at the 20 Jedi. Yaddle's lightsaber was shot out of her hands, and she put her hands up to try and block the lightning. Sidious laughed as he pushed them, and he told Dooku to join him, release his anger, release the power buried inside of him, use his hatred to fire the lightning, push the Jedi off of the edge to their certain deaths. Dooku lifted up his hands, and then he looked through the lightning and saw Yaddle. He was staring at him, pleading with her eyes for him to do the right thing. Sidious saw this too, and Sidious yelled through the lightning that she will never truly trust him. This entire plot of a new sect of Jedi has been to get to Dooku, ever since the day that she hid from them in the hangar. Dooku was suddenly in shock. She was there. She heard everything. And yet, she still treated him with trust. Sidious knew she was there this whole time. Sidious knew all of this was happening. All of this was a test from Sidious for Dooku to ultimately choose him, to ultimately become the Sith apprentice. But still, Yaddle had treated him with trust despite all of that. Yaddle and the others began slipping towards the edge. They were seconds from falling over the cliff. Yaddle yelled to Dooku that she did know about the Sith. She knew it all, and still, she trusted him. She knows what he can be. And Dooku realized that Yaddle has trusted him more than Sidious ever has, despite all of his deeds for the Sith. Sidious continued blasting lightning. He could feel Dooku's anger, his betrayed emotions for the Jedi, and he laughed. He saw Dooku once more raise his hands, and he expected the Jedi to die. But then, Sidious was hit with a force push, flying hard, slamming into a jagged rock. The sharp rock cut through his back as he fell. Sidious collapsed in pain, screaming out in anger as Dooku's lightsaber would pierce his chest. Sidious's body would fall dead and be tossed into the angry water below, and Dooku would look to the Jedi, his Jedi. And with this new order, as Dooku became a true leader of it, he began traveling, negotiating, listening to systems the Republic has forgotten. Worlds on the edge of the Mid and Outer Rim, once drifted toward a separatist alliance, would find Jedi arriving to help. Dooku's presence would give these Jedi real credibility. As the years passed, the Outer Rim Jedi would abandon the idea of a fixed temple entirely. Instead, they built roaming cruisers. They were vast, self-sustaining ships, outfitted with gardens, meditation chambers, schools, medical bays. Jedi would live among the crews, the families, refugees, local volunteers, answering calls wherever needed. They were not generals. They were not symbols of a republic. They were guided by the Force, bound by service. Their numbers would grow naturally, as Force sensitives from these forgotten worlds were found and trained, while more Coruscant Jedi would come to them as well. On Coruscant, Yoda watched the Outer Rim Order carefully at first, quietly expecting failure, but instead, he would see results. When the two orders finally formalized some cooperation, they would do so as equals. And by the end of 10 years, each order had roughly 6,000 Jedi. Among the Outer Rim Jedi, Anakin and Obi-Wan were here. Anakin thrived in this freedom, and Dooku would teach him with Obi-Wan, as the ghost of Qui-Gon would find them all. Eventually, Yoda traveled to Ahch-To, as he and Dooku would stand together on the stone steps overlooking a calm sea. Yoda acknowledged that this change has saved them, and Dooku simply watched the horizon with peace in mind, knowing that he chose the Jedi, all thanks to Yaddle. And folks, that is our story for today. Hope you enjoyed. I really did like this one actually quite a lot. I know I say that every video, but I really made it on this one. I guess I always mean it, but whatever. Ramble, 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 ramble. I like to ramble. Yeah. Yaddle. Highlight Yaddle. Tales of the Jedi. Again, I say this every time I do a video on this episode, but like, dude, if you guys haven't watched the Tales of the Jedi, Dooku 3 episodes, just go do that. It's some of my favorite Star Wars. It's like 3 quick episodes, but still, I think it's perfect. It shows Dooku's fall to the dark. It highlights Yaddle. I think it's just perfect. I really do. Tales that, the rest of the Tales series, Empire, whatever, hasn't been as good as just the Dooku episodes. Just awesome. Some of my favorite stuff. I love writing on it. It inspired me to do more Dooku stories like this one. And yeah, I've probably rewatched it a handful of times. 5 or 6. 6 or 7. Anyways. I'm gonna go. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't. Like the video. Hype the video. Whatever that means. And I'll see you in the next video.